the 20 top albums of 2025, according to our collective voting. This is the first part of 5 to 9's Album of the Month, Album of the Year 2025 episode, sharing the albums we've ranked from 20th down to 11th. I'm Andrew Belt, editor of the 5 to 9 blog, and joining me as always are Karl Blakesley of New Music Central and Kiley Larsen, the founder of label Mañana Records. And our trusty trio have some sad news. The 2 parts of this year-end special will be Kiley's last as a regular co-host. Notice I'm not saying last ever show. I do hope you join us again.
That's the plan.
When schedules allow. But yeah, time, clearly precious thing, difficult to keep. It's a big commitment. I don't know, it's been a battle keeping up this year, on top of your label work and burgeoning gig work, booking the hottest tickets in Santa Fe. So I'm sure
Heard it here.
It's do the promo. I'm sure Karl would like to say something too, but first, from me, thank you. Been a pleasure chatting all things music with you over the past 3 years, both on the pod and increasingly on our WhatsApp group. And the time you've given, contributions you made are massively, massively appreciated. You will be sorely missed. But I'm sure we will continue spamming each other on WhatsApp as long as you don't decide to leave after tonight.
No.
And I can't wait to see what's next for Mañana Records. So wish you the very best of luck with it all. And that's my little bit. Karl, I'm sure you would like to chip in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just hoping that the Lemon Twigs now release an album every month, so you have like no choice.
Bring you back in.
Reel you back in via the Twigs. But no, I mean, you've put me onto some great music, as you know, through this, through doing this like every month. But yeah, I mean, we'll certainly keep in touch and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, echo what Andrew says. It's just been a pleasure having you on and giving the stateside view, and I appreciate how difficult it is recording in the middle of the day, your time, and even in our time. So, but yeah, we'll definitely have you back on for sure. Yeah. And yeah, representing Mañana tonight for the occasion.
Yeah, we'll send you the spreadsheet for signing up for next year, Kiley. So yeah, maybe just an X against the ones you can't do. But yeah, Kiley, I don't know if you want to supply an official statement or add anything to this.
Yeah, it just this is something that came along during the pandemic, and as wild as the pandemic was, I think it gave me a lot of great things, and got me back into music reviewing and dialing in towards starting the label and everything that's come along with it. But first getting to know you guys just through our writing, and I think now more than ever, with the state of the few large music publications that are still around, it feels like to me that the importance of music reviewing and criticism is back to the blogs, like it's 20 years ago again. And just identifying the writing that you like, and respecting opinions just brought along this podcast. And it's been fantastic to get to know both of you and talk to you every month over the last, has it been 3 or 4 years?
3 years.
3, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was 3. But it's something I always look forward to, and it's I just this last especially 6 months, I just felt bad being the guy every morning that we're going to tape something saying, hey, today's not going to work out. And it wasn't a decision I made easily, and I'm going to miss doing this with you guys dearly every month. But yeah, I plan on dropping back in next year, and obviously you two are why I have WhatsApp on my phone, so I got to justify that download, right? But really, yeah, I love you guys. Thank you so much, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, lovely words, and yeah, really,
Toast to
we
that.
loved having you on. Yeah, toast to that. And so, yeah, because people will love seeing me and Karl take a swig. They've, yeah, no, 3 years. I mean, obviously, you were doing the check this out newsletter when we started as well. It was pre-labeled, so I mean, wow, 3 years. You know, I've moved house is probably the main thing for me in these 3 years. Karl, I don't know, in those 3
I've
years.
also moved house, yeah.
Yeah, I've no doubt. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, a lot has happened, but this has been, you know, one of the things keeping it going. And yeah, what it's certainly probably my most, at least most interesting WhatsApp group. Apologies to those on the other ones. Cool. So yeah, we're getting that out in the open, and like I say, it's really nice to be able to share our thoughts and yeah, like I say, sort of mark this and make the most of this final one, you know, marking the third full year we've done since kicking it off in 2023. But before we get too weepy, let's refocus on the year in music which has just been, and the third year of the Album of the Month pod. So just to sort of look back on the last year, I mean, we know what 20 we're going to run through, and the 60 we've reviewed, or even 61 this year. But any clangers you think we've missed from the roster this year? I mean, particularly it's year end list time. So do you look at those and going, there's one which got away? I mean, Kiley, go to you first.
Yeah, I knew this question was coming for this taping, and yesterday or Monday, it sent you guys the that Stephen Hayden list of, you know, top 10 aughts and 2010s bands that maybe didn't deliver this year. And you know, we had a good laugh, and I thought about how much I agreed with that list, and then it got me to thinking, as a uh, zillennial, elder millennial, uh, you know, all the fresh young bands that are blowing up right now. Uh, I wanted to just make a short list of the bands from the last 15 to 20 years that actually I think did a great job. And you know, I think about this all the time too, with like bands from the 60s, how they had such a hard time in the 80s and adapting to all the new, you know, synth sounds and production changes. And you know, it's happening again with the bands that we grew up with. So shout out to these people that I thought did a great job. Outside of a record that we're going to talk about in a bit, my favorite record of the year was Amy Millan from Stars, her solo record, I Went to Find You. Just a lovely, you know, especially this time of year as things quiet down. Just a lovely record. I think The Overpass off of there is my favorite song of the year. Craig Finn, always been, which I think is a great album title for him. Obviously from the Hold Steady, and I think one of the great current American storytellers. And you know, I've kind of gotten to the point where I enjoy Craig Finn's solo records more than the here and there Hold Steady records that come out. And he's just focused, and I think the stories on his new album are very small but relatable. They're things that you go through in life, and just really hit you hard. The other one we talked about a couple months ago, Jeff Tweedy, Twilight Override. It's a triple album, which usually does not excite me, but you know, it's just more greatness from the Wilco frontman. And then Tunde Adebimpe, the Black Bolts from damn it, why am I forgetting? You got
Radio.
TV on the Radio, my gosh. And same thing, just you know, I think someone that it still sounds like Tune Day, it still sounds like TV on the radio, but it's still fresh, and embraces, the current sound of music in 2025. So those four records there, I think, the elder statesman of the indie scene did a great job.
And could have enhanced our list. Certainly a few we would maybe prefer to have kicked out in hindsight. Karl, what about you? Any you think which we were missing from our long list this year?
Yeah, I mean, just Kylie talking about elder indie statesman. One album that I've actually really enjoyed this month, which I'll just give a quick shout out to, is Tom Smith from The Editors. Released his solo album, very like wintry listen. I can't think of the name of the actual album title now, but yeah, he's just released a solo album, and it's just a lovely record for this time of year. And I think it was one of those that, I handed in my album of the year list, then listened to that, and immediately was like, yep, this should have been on it somewhere. But yeah, definitely, that was another record I enjoyed. But in terms of, I mean, the ones that we missed, I guess the biggest ones you could say were Geese and Rosalia, by the fact that they topped topping all the year-end lists. Did enjoy those records, maybe not as much as some of the ones that we're going to discuss, but definitely would have made for interesting discussions. I mean, the Rosalia one, she sings in like, I think it's like 14 different languages on that record, and there's lots of like religious imagery, and it's just definitely an interesting listen. The Geese record, I know you would have enjoyed as well, Andrew. So yeah, I think those two for sure. The other one I was thinking of from a personal point of view was Sleep Token. Those guys had a massive year. I think that was one that made my top 10 that we didn't discuss on the pod. And the fact of how divisive and Marmite a band they are, I think it definitely would have made for a fun discussion, that one. I don't think we all would have enjoyed it, but that's the beauty of this format. And then the last one I'll just shout out as well, which was one of my, we've kind of talked about on the pod, like how great a year it's been for rap and hip hop, and one that I think we missed out on just because it came at a very busy time in the month with a lot of other choices that we could select, was Dave's The Boy Who Played the Harp. He's now 3 and 3 for me. Obviously won the Mercury Prize with his debut. His second one was just as good. And then this new one is outstanding as well. His just the way he writes his lyrics. It's like storytelling to a new level for me. It is like prose, the way that he pulls his bars together, and there's some great guest features on there. James Blake does some of the production work. There's a great track where he's sitting down at a restaurant with Kano, and the song's kind of like them going back and forth with each other. But yeah, lots of religious imagery in that album as well, and just another captivating listen. So yeah, those were my favourites of the ones that we've not covered on the pod this year.
Yeah, you covered the two. Looking through all the lists, Geese and Rosalia's, you can't really move for praise of those two albums. Geese apparently are the saviors of rock and roll, and quite frankly, I've not got round to it. So I think I probably will enjoy that. I will try between now and a little bit into the new year as well, before we sort of get back into the rhythm of the month by month. I suppose the only other one I'll just briefly mention as well. Last year we covered Three Bells by Ty Segall. I thought this was going to be his, first return to form in the 2020s from a fairly so-so bunch. That actually should have been this year with Possession, which I think came out in May. And I would have liked to have swapped out because Three Bells wasn't the most. It was probably similar to a lot of his projects in the 2020s, where half were songs I really enjoy and really remind me why I'm such a big fan of his, and then the other half just didn't really go anywhere. But Possession was a return to kind of a more varied, cohesive effort from Ty. which I was very pleased, and came on top of the record he did in January as Freckle, which Kylie put us onto. So which is also very high in my my year-end list. So they're a couple more on top, which we could have done. And then out of those we did review. Which would you say most disappointed not to cover in this episode? And Karl, I'll ask you first.
Well, I guess Divorce would be the obvious answer. Runner-up album of the year for me. It was by far my favorite debut album of the year. I think it was just came very accomplished. I loved the texture of the sounds on that record. Kind of blurs the lines between indie, country, folky passages as well. All the songs kind of have like a timeless feel about them. So yeah, that's one album that I've spun an awful lot this year. So that would be the obvious one, I would say.
Kylie, what about you?
Just trying to I had this on the list here. 1 second. Cut this out and edit. Oh, where did the list go?
I'll jump in whilst you're looking.
Yeah,
So yeah, for me, it would be Till the Morning by Brian Daddario. We've had the Lemon Twigs sort of feature in the last 2 years of the album of the year episode, and for me that was just as good as what they produced in 2023 and 2024 with Brian going it alone but collaborating with Michael. So yeah, you do ask the question what would be different, but yeah, it took a bit more of I think slightly more personal, some kind of religious references in the lyrics, and one I just such a delight for the years essentially as the Twigs always produce, and this was another one which was of the same standard. So that's one I was, I think, both surprised and disappointed that I didn't make it. So Kylie, have you found your pick?
Yeah, I'm gonna be lame and copy that. Mostly,
it doesn't feel right without Twigs.
Yeah, it doesn't. And thinking about I grabbed that tape when that record dropped, and I've listened to that tape a whole bunch this year. So I'm with you, Andrew. It's had staying power for me as well, and I do still stand by that. Kind of miss the Michael songs, and I think the double A side that they released last month, where they each had a song. It was nice to have that dynamic back, and looking forward to. I haven't had a chance to listen to that Tchotchkes by Tchotchke with the Lemon Twigs track. So anyway, I know the rumors have been swirling that I'd expect a record next year. So yeah, it would be. It would make more sense if Brian's solo record was on this list today.
Yeah, we just need to wait for the announcement that it's coming in January. Then we'll see you in
the shortest retirement of all time.
There we go.
I think he could have at least been number 20 on this list. Earl.
It's just I put it on the scoring system. Whatever month it was in.
It was a strong month, yeah. Like you say, whichever month it was, to not make it. And then finally, which record takes your album of the month wooden spoon for 2025? I mean, Kylie, so the one you least enjoyed brought to the table this year.
I think I have to stick with the rankings and that the Weeknd record. It's still just, I don't know. I know Karl's a big stand for that record, and I don't dislike the Weeknd. I love pretty much everything until this record. It's still just very long and doesn't pull me in.
It's a spoiler for when we get into the 20, because it is part of our top 20.
Yeah.
So there we go. Bombshell. Karl, who are you awarding the wooden spoon to in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going for Nail. I think that was like just unlistenable at times. Nails on a chalkboard. And then the other one that I'll sort of give a slight wooden spoon to because it was so disappointing was Biffy Clyro as well. That was below par for those guys, and I hope they bounce back with the next one.
And then yeah, my wooden spoon would certainly be both of you would stand in front of me if I ever dared approach them, but sorry, Death Heaven just did not really resonate with me at all. So yeah, it's probably the heaviest we've got on the pod, and slightly
So
too
far,
heavy.
so far.
So far. Let's see what maybe that's just the first sign. So maybe we'll get some more black gaze on the pod. So there we go. That's a little bit of a summary of the year, but we're going to get into our 20s. We reviewed 60 albums this year. 22 scored 11 or higher. We then compiled our top 22 from the list, with 2 missing out on our top 20, which were Alex G with Headlights and May Simona's with Animaru. So commiserations, 2 very good albums, but just missing out on the album of the year chart. And now we will rattle through those which landed from 20th down to 11. So might not be so much of a surprise given our questioning just at the beginning, but in 20th is Hurry Up Tomorrow by The Weeknd. It was our album of the month, would you believe, all the way back in January. It was one I chose. It got 22 points in our scoring, with Karl making up the vast majority of those points. So over to you, Karl, to give us a little summary of Hurry Up Tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, we say vast majority. I think I gave it 20 and you guys gave it 2 combined. So
yeah, for clarity.
It's definitely me pulling this one onto the final 20. I guess from my side, like the biggest difference maybe is obviously I've got the vinyl version, which is 40 minutes and only like 10, 11 tracks. So there's like, I'm also taking that into account when I'm looking at my, so it's not just the 22 track Odyssey that you guys have spun on the digital version, but also got to see the film this year in the cinema, which was a great experience and kind of added more context to where his head was at when he was pulling this one together, and real kind of takes you on a trip inside his head is the gist of it. And yeah, I mean, the Weeknd's been one of my favorite artists for the last decade plus, and I think this was for me, as someone who like adores his music, it was the long goodbye for sure in many ways, but it was one of those where I almost didn't want it to like close that chapter. But I think the way that he did it, I mean, particularly the last 2 tracks on that record, Without a Warning and then into Hurry Up Tomorrow, I remember listening to them for the first time in the car, and when Hurry Up Tomorrow kind of came on, that was a real like frog in the throat moment listening to that song for the first time. Some very dark lyrics, and kind of like gave me the understanding of why he's not going forward with this character anymore. We'll see what he does next. But yeah, for me, I still return to this record. A lot of song, whether I'm playing it front to back, which I'll quite happily do, if I'm working away and just want something to jam out to in the background, or if I'm just dipping back in to some of the singles and the better cuts on here. I've enjoyed it a lot this year. So yeah, glad it snuck into the 20. So yeah, sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
I just did.
I was really looking forward to it, but ultimately, I really enjoyed Dawn FM. So, and obviously being the last project, I was very excited, but fell below those expectations. Kylie, sorry.
Yeah, my apologies. I was just gonna say, Karl, I think Rotten Tomatoes is flawed. I don't think it's the end all be all on movie criticism, but I just checked, and Hurry Up Tomorrow, the movie, it's a 14% on there. But it is a 61% audience score. So
yeah,
I'm thinking maybe Karl submitted to Rotten Tomatoes for
flying the flag for the wee elves.
It's definitely not going to win any Oscars, but I think as an accompaniment to the album, I certainly enjoyed it anyway.
And now there's the Charlie XCX one, right? That's not I don't think that's an accompaniment to an album.
No, I don't.
Oh, Wuthering Heights next year.
No, she's got a film coming out called The Moment, and it's about she's like playing herself, and it's like it looks like another kind of surreal film. So yeah, looking forward to that one as well.
One to look out for. Okay, so we've begun our countdown with The Weeknd in 20th, gaining 1 point more than The Weeknd, and 19th in our list is Adagio by Stella. This was our album of the month for April and was chosen by Kiley, and fittingly Kiley gave it the most points in the scoring. So over to you, Kiley, for the wrap up.
Yeah, Stella's fifth record, and I wish in our first year we could have done Up and Away. I still, that and The Break, the last two before this, still enjoyed a little bit more, but Adagio has had staying power. It's, I think, unique and builds upon those last records with Stella, who is Greek, singing in Greek for the first time on this record, still incorporating a lot of Greek instruments and scales. And I was just thinking about this record again when we were putting together the final list. And in April, I really enjoyed it. In December, I'm loving it because it is like a Mediterranean breeze, and I could use that, right?
Nicely summarized. Yeah, really enjoyed this one. Gotta say, so good one to bring to the table, and yeah, great to make the cut. And Carl's nodding, so we'll go on. We'll continue our whittling down.
Echo those thoughts. Yeah, really nice record.
So in 18th is A Sober Conversation by BC Camplight. Runner-up in June. The album was chosen by me for the poll, which earned the artist a second go on the pod. So yeah, the last rotation on Earth didn't make it this far, so that's already a win, I think, for Brian Cristinzio on this effort. I also scored it the highest, and it earned 27 points in total, so a little jump from our first two. So yeah, this one, I think this is probably the best BC Camplight record certainly I've listened to. There's quite a few which preceded Deportation Blues. But yeah, the most personal record of Brian's career, addressing some really dark moments from his life so far. There's also some good features by the likes of Abigail Morris from The Last Dinner Party, who appears on the record. There's the usual quirky lyrics. They say that, if that's jarred with you in the past, it will probably jar with you this time as well. It hasn't with me, so I think this is just sort of deepening my respect for BC Camplight, the artist, and this was one I very much enjoyed in the middle of summer. Wasn't maybe too excited for this one, but it surpassed those expectations of not being, June. For some reason, this one stood out because actually looking back, June there were so many good records. But yeah, it was one worth taking a bit of time to also explore in amongst the likes of Pulp and McKinley Dixon and Clips and many others which came out, and Turnstile which came out that month. So yeah, slotting in here in 18th. And yeah, I don't know, any brief add-ons there you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, I guess obviously I came into this kind of fairly neutral on BC Camplight. I'd always admired what he was going for, but it didn't always click with me for sure. And certainly like some songs really took to, and others just passed me by. Shout out again for Kicking Up a Fuss, which is still one of my favorite songs of like the last 5 years. But yeah, this one, yeah, glad to give him another chance on the pod, and yeah, really enjoyed this record. Like you say, very, very dark, but always with like a sense of humor kind of running through there as well, so it doesn't become overwhelming. And yeah, just very theatrical, and yeah, just a bit more restrained than I think he's been on other records, where he kind of diverges into the backworkier side a bit more. I think, given the nature of what he's talking about here, he is a bit more restrained in what he's doing. So yeah, glad it made the list. Definitely deserving.
And yeah,
Yeah, likewise. I was gonna say, there isn't any of the highs like kicking up a fuss, but for me, I enjoyed this record more than the last one that we reviewed. I thought it was uh way more even. Fell off a little bit on the last couple of songs, but yeah, this was more in my direction. Really enjoyed that record.
there we go. So we're kicking up a bit of a pace here, I would say, as we're running through our top 20. In 17th place is Neighbourhood Gods Unlimited by Open Mike Eagle. It got 28 points in the scoring, having been July's album of the month. Yeah, this is my pick for the poll, mainly through suggestions you've provided in the past about Open Mike Eagle. I knew nothing about him, Kiley. So based on that, I just chucked him into the poll. He won, and yeah, Kiley, you gave the highest score to Neighbourhood Gods Unlimited. So over to you for the kind of summary.
Yeah, we've talked about it a bunch, and we were going over albums we missed. I have an entire hip hop playlist for 2025, and I think as bad as mainstream hip hop was this year, quote unquote underground, left field, whatever you want to call it, was just thriving. And Open Mike Eagle, one of the I guess you could say elder statesmen at this point. y- you know, wouldn't say by any means technically the best, but just I think my favorite hip hop MC, uh, lyrically, just pulling some real deep nerdy stuff that always, makes me laugh. But I think Mike Eagle is really great at capturing inner monologue and putting it to beats. And so Neighborhood Gods Unlimited, just continuing hot streak. This one had a little bit of a concept album to it. It's kind of him and his buddies working in the mall and stealing stuff, and talking about Superman and that kind of thing. So uh love this record. For me, it was the top 10 2025, and that's saying something because we've got plenty more hip hop on this list that I would put right with this record.
Yeah, and no, I was glad that I, had listened to what he said and then chucked him onto the poll, and then he got on, and yeah, it was my favorite album in July. I think there's a few tracks in particular which really stand out on this. There's the kind of theme of smashed glass throughout the record, a bit like Clips with their this is culturally inappropriate running through that record, so this kind of thematic flourishes. But yeah, in a monologue, I think that really sums it up. I often try and pick through lyrics, and yeah, I mean, you talking about the concept of it, that passed me by. so so yeah, I was struggling often to pin that, but it's a very enjoyable listen throughout, and yeah, like I say, some real standout tracks. So glad I'm now tuned in to Open Mike Eagle. Karl, what would you say?
Yeah, just echo your guys' thoughts. Great records. Another of the very many great hip hop records from this year. Yeah, like you say, great concept, great flow throughout. Just a really easy listen as well. Which hasn't always been the case with Open Mike Eagle for me. Like some of his quirkier stuff, similar to BC Camplight in that way. But yeah, definitely enjoyed this record, and yeah, deserving winner of our album of the month back whenever it was. And yeah, he's actually playing Nottingham next year, so in rough trade, tiny room. So already earmarked that one as one that I want to get to as well. So
One of the highlights of that month, whenever it will be, I'm sure. So yeah, we'll have him back on the pod. So the album in 16th place is Life, Death and Dennis Hopper by the Waterboys. This was the runner-up in April's Album of the Month episode. So there's a few instances of this. It ranks higher than the winner that month, which we've already run through, which was Stella's Adagio. And this one gained 29 points. Karl's pick, and you also scored it joint highest with Kiley. But I'll go to you for a few words on Life, Death and Dennis Hopper.
Yeah, so this one was a bit of a passion project for Mike Scott and the Waterboys, and very much, he's written songs about Dennis Hopper before, but he took it a step further this time, made a whole concept album covering his life from, birth right up until death, with lots of jumps in between to all the key points, Easy Rider, Blue Velvet, some great moments on there talking about like his relationships and some of the crazy things that he's done over the years. So, one of the tracks that still sticks with me is Andy, a guy like you, and it's about him setting fire to Andy Warhol's paintings, which I think's a great story for a song. But yeah, I think the reason maybe it finished above Stella for me, I think it was just the fact that the ambition of it, a lot of tracks on here, a lot of different styles from track to track. It's a wild listen. Like the features that are on here from like Steve Earle, Bruce Springsteen, Fiona Apple, Barney Fletcher, I think as well, who's a young singer-songwriter who also turns up on one of the songs and does a great job. But yeah, he jumps all over the place in terms of the musicality of this thing. And yeah, it's just one that I've really enjoyed going back to. I think anytime one of those songs comes on shuffle, I'll rarely skip it. I mean, the one that I'll never skip is Hoppers on Top. As soon as that keyboard riff kicks off and you've got the genius coming in. I just absolutely love it. So yeah, some great moments on it. Very ambitious, and yeah, to pull this off when they're the age that they are now and they've accomplished what they have, so they don't need to do any more. So the fact that they're still delivering records that are this interesting and this bold deserves an extra thumbs up, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Kiley, you ranked it as highly as Karl in the overall scores. So yeah, anything to add on top of Karl's assessment there?
Yeah, I agree with everything Karl said, and I think the thematically and the vision of this record, I don't think there's any album that was a better execution this year. We just talked about the concept of Mike Eagle's album that you didn't pick up on, right? Like this is the opposite of that, and it's just it's a modern epic, amazing. And I also October finally watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which is a great Dennis Hopper role, and living in the land of Dennis Hopper, just really enjoyed that record this year.
Yeah, it's a real journey. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. You can probably create your own mini album of which sort of styles you prefer, this sort of thing, but it's never not interesting. Made me want to learn more about Dennis Hopper, so I spent a little bit of time on Wikipedia following up and sort of corroborating, just trying to contextualize. As you say, it's incredibly autobiographical from birth to death, basically, and even beyond. So yeah, the only thing to add is that is it already out, the sort of second part to this, or the kind of there's another Waterboys record, which is I think the ones which didn't make the album, and that is one I certainly do want to check out. Or is that still to come?
And I've seen it mentioned. I've not delved into it if it is out. I know he's also done a film about the whole making of the record as well that I really want to see. So maybe that's something I'll get to over Christmas, because yeah, the more I learn about this record, the more I dive into it, the more I appreciate it. So
Yeah, there's a spin-off movie of the month with the Weeknd and now the Waterboys taking the producer reins, and but yeah, there we go. And Charlie XCX maybe on the way as well as you say. So right, we move on to 15th place, which is Sinister Grift by Panda Bear. So the album scored joint highest in the monthly pod, not pud, scoring. It got 14 points. So we had no 15 pointers this year as we have in previous. But yeah, secured February's Album of the Month prize, getting 31 points in our end of year assessment. The majority coming from Kiley, who also selected Sinister Grift. So yeah, what's your views on Sinister Grift now we're looking back on 2025, Kiley?
Yeah, tying back to my list of millennial music that I shouted out at the top of the podcast, I think this is no one did it better than Noah Lennox, known from Animal Collective and obviously plenty of Panda Bear solo records. And just Flying Real High follows up from a couple years ago, Reset, that he did with Sonic Boom. And always had that Beach Boys influence in his music. And I think Sinister Grift just really executed that so well with taking technology and the whole studio suite to the maximum level to come up with Sinister Grift. I think this one too reminds me a lot of 90s Paul Simon, and I think more interestingly executed than anything that Vampire Weekend likes to do with that. So anyway, my favorite record of the year, and I've played this so many times, uh, especially during the summer. It was just on nonstop rotation, no skips for me, and I think it's a little modern masterpiece. Love this record.
There we go. And yeah, I mean, certainly in February, it was way ahead of the pile. To be fair, it's not one I've think if I'd have given myself a bit more time to go back through these records, this was one I should have gone back to. But my main thought is Beach Boys. What you say, that kind of loveliness which can be conjured on record. And I think this does it very well, and also flits between a few different genres. There's kind of a bit of a reggae feel on some of them. And yeah, being a bit familiar with Animal Collective, mainly Merryweather Post Pavilion, didn't know about Panda Bear as a project, and so this was a nice kind of re-entry into that world in a sense, and yeah, a very very strong album again this year. So, Karl, any further comments on Sinister Grift?
I'll just say this the same as you. It's maybe a record that I didn't revisit as much as I should have this year, and that's maybe just the reason that it's ended up slightly lower. But going back to February, had a blast with this record. I mean, I remember listening to it and it being like a time machine, like the way Noah would kind of bring us into the future with some of the sounds that he was conjuring, but then you'd have that, like you say, the Beach Boys and the timelessness of that style, the styles of the past, very psychedelic in places, and yeah, just like I say, like a bit of a travel through time listening to that record, and yeah, one that I definitely need to go back to for sure.
Yeah, I did try with the Weeknd, but yeah, that was I got about halfway through. So anyway, slight diversion. On 14th
So it sounds like you
place-
need to buy the vinyl and get the 40-minute version.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
and then buy a vinyl player. We've got a CD player, but I don't suppose that's a format which has the 40-minute version. Anyway, we'll chat offline, as they say.
That record might actually be too long for a CD. Might be a double CD.
Maybe, yeah. It was a bit of a throwback. Sort of mid-2000s, like Foo Fighters in Your Honor, the Red Hot Chili Peppers did Stadium Arcadium. There was like a push for double CDs when CDs were still a thing in the mid 2000s. But anyway, there we go. One to ponder. And CD listeners, let us know. In 14th is Antidepressants by Suede. So this also scored 31 points. So I mean, technically, Sinister Grift joint 14th as well. It was chosen by Karl and went on to win September's Album of the Month prize. And I scored it the highest. I mean, potentially seeing them that month probably made me a bit more engaged with the album, and it's always a benefit to then see a new album perform live. I know, you know, probably Karl in particular, that you've experienced that a lot with albums this year. And yeah, saw them as part of their takeover of the South Bank in London, where they did various types of shows over a 2-week period. And this followed on from Autofiction in 2022, which I thought was a really strong effort. This one maybe doesn't quite reach the heights of that one, but you know, they sort of termed it as their post-punk offering after the more punky Autofiction, and yeah, it just delivered as they seem to do in this second Suede era. After returning in 2016, which, Karl, I know you've sort of followed all of the albums since that return back then. But yeah, this is one which, like I say, is very high up in my list, and yeah, it's kind of goes back to what you were saying, Kylie, about, you know, bands who from other eras, how do you sort of fit in? You either sort of stick to the old tunes and they still bring them out when they play live, you know, and there's fantastic ones from that first era of Suede, but really how they're sort of charging forward with all their new stuff as well is really to be admired. And yeah, I think continue like this, they'll always be in the reckoning at the end of the year, basically. So Karl, I mean, what do you add to that on Antidepressants?
Yeah, just like you say, Suede continuing their stellar run that they've had since getting back together. I think the only reason it kind of ended up slightly lower down for me was because of their own work before that. I think, yeah, but a curse of their own making, I guess, in that sense. But you know, that's not taking anything away from this record. There's still some great highs on there, some great moments that I would keep revisiting. And yeah, just like I say, just love this revival that Suede are having, and I just hope they continue to make records this good.
And Kylie, I think you joined me in voting for this as the winner in September. So so what would you add on this one, or about the London Suede as they're referred to in America?
Once I finally found the record, yeah, you know, we talked about Suede. For me, is for some reason always been one of those bands that kind of I forget about when talking about their peers from, you know, the early 90s, and unfortunately hadn't, you know, kept up with the reboot. And so I came in without the history on this record and absolutely loved it, still love it. And, you know, mentioned in my when we were talking about this album that post-punk has been the thing for the last couple of years and kind of gotten beaten over the head for me. But then you have geezers like Suede that come out and do it right. And, you know, this and one that didn't make the final cut, but Homefront, those are the two post-punk records for me that I just really loved this year. And I was glad that we reviewed this because it's a great record.
There we go. And yeah, forgot to mention that Dancing with the Europeans, one of my favourite tracks of the year as well, from this one. Just chuck that in there, why not? So yeah, potentially staying on the same genre, depending on how you take it. In 13th is All That Is Over by Sprints. So like, I mean, funnily enough, like a few other surprising scores, this lost out to Suede in September's episode. But yeah, in year-end rankings, it ends up higher. gaining 33 points. Yeah, so just one of these funny little quirks. But this was one where I gave the most points here. I think, retreading what we kind of said in September about this, but we all were a little underwhelmed by the debut based on just the absolute onslaught of praise letters to self received, which in some ways just kind of gave them a mountain to climb if you're going into it not really knowing much about the band. But I did find that one, which I think was released in January of last year, it was one by the end of the year which really stuck with me. I think there were elements which could have been improved upon, and I think what you have with a fairly swift follow-up in All That Is Over is those elements really being improved, sharpening their sound. The lyrics, I think, go to another level as well. Some really good stuff in here on that front. And just another kind of Dublin band who are absolutely killing it. Great to see live, and yeah, really pleased to sort of see them take it to the next level with a new guitarist, which I do think has improved their sound. And yeah, I don't really know what to expect, and it only made the poll pick for me from listening to the singles, which sort of showed that there was a lot of promise for this record, and I think they certainly delivered. Would be my words on this one. So I mean, Karl, what would you add here?
Yeah, I mean, just echo that. I think it's a step up from the debut. Certainly one that I've played more. I think the debut, I kind of got into a habit of going back to the few tracks that I enjoyed rather than playing it all the way through. Whereas this one, I certainly seem to be enjoying it, playing it through from start to finish, more than the last one. And yeah, I think the new guitarists add so much to their sound. I think just overall as well, their songwriting, their craftsmanship has just gone up a notch on this record. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm just excited to see where they go from here. I think it's they're taking the right trajectory, in the way that they move in. So, like you say, great live band as well. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing them again and seeing what project they come out with next.
And Kylie, any words on this second effort from Sprints you want to add?
No, I echo the same sentiment as you guys. Definitely enjoyed this one more than the first one. I think Carla Chubb sounds stronger on this record, and yeah, just feels terrible to say this, but I do think that the switch in guitarists really changed this band and added a fresh element to it that appealed more to me. So yeah, better than the first one.
And love the lyric in Descartes. Is it I speak, therefore I understand? Which yeah, I don't know, has many layers to it, or maybe not, but it sums up a lot of discourse in our modern society. So yeah, on 33 points, and finishing in 12th spot is Loner by Barry Can't Swim. This is 2 places higher than his debut When Will We Land, which was 14th in 2023. So both of his albums so far have got through to our Album of the Year episode on the pod. It was joint runner-up with Alex G's Headlights in July. And that month's winner, we've already discussed, was Open Mike Eagle. So I think this is the final strange quirk of our scoring at the end of the year, but just shows how sometimes you let it simmer, and then by the end you might have a stronger or a lesser feel for an album. But yeah, chosen by Kylie, and I think you chose Barry Can't Swim in 2023 as well. You gave the most points to Loner. So yeah, how are you feeling about it in December?
Still enjoying it. And the rankings are funny because as much as I do really like Loner, I did like When Will We Land a little bit more. But When Will We Land, the one from this year, Joshua Maney, I think, as someone that's been listening to his work since he started putting out the singles, he's leaning more into club music, and I think that is probably coming from the endless live sets that he's doing the last couple of years, and yeah, so it's a little more up tempo than the last one, but I do love when he thinks throws excuse me, slows things down. We talked a lot about as hip as it may not have been the last decade. I just hear Moby influences popping up everywhere in electronic music right now, and those little pieces are no different on this record. So yeah, still loved it. For me, I appreciate the jazz infused, more house lounge stuff that he started off with, but I am always looking forward to his next record, and someday I'll stop being jealous of Karl and actually see a set of his.
Perfect segue. Karl, your thoughts on Loner?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where, I mean, this was already my album this summer. I think when we reviewed it in July, I know I put it top of the pile for me in July. And I was already, playing it a bunch. I think when we spoke about When We Will We Land, the biggest thing was it came out in October. Next time release it in the summer, and he did that with this one, and yeah, it just came out at the right time. Obviously saw him at Rock Workter by a twist of fate or a stomach bug or whatever it was that made Sam Fender pull out, and meant that I got to see Barry Can't Swim, and that ended up being, seeing his set at Rock Workter, a huge moment for me in the summer. But then in August as well, he headlined Lost Village Festival, and that was a very full circle moment. It was on the Sunday. Um, it was the first festival he went to. He's kind of grown up through the ranks at Lost Village to get into the stage where he's headlining it. And it was just such a triumphant set to close the weekend. He played pretty much the whole of the album, like in the set, along with obviously all the best cuts off the debut as well. So again, I'm kind of one of those people that when I look at like album of the year rankings, I always look back at like when I think of 2025, like what's going to define like my year when I think back to that moment in time. And Barry Can't Swim for me is definitely one of those records because, yeah, my album this summer, without a doubt.
And yeah, I have to be honest. This is one I can't like memorize. I can't. There's not a song which jumps out when I think of this record. Like most of the ones which we're covering. My thoughts at the time were that I enjoyed it. It kind of maintained my enjoyment from last year, but not to the extent which I think you guys do. And if you had a third person who was on the same level, this would be pushing for album of the year, I'm sure. So kind of an apology to Barry Can't Swim with this one. But
Not at all.
But two places up, like I say, on the debut offering in 2023. So yeah, I'm sure will still feature in years to come. And then in 11th, so just 1 point higher on 34 points, is Want by Esther Rose. This was runner-up in May, the album chosen by Kiley, but I ended up awarding it the most points because you also managed to get me guest list for when she came to London, very sort of soon after the release of this record, so I had a bit of time to sort of listen to it then before going to see her live at the Lexington, which is a smallish sort of venue upstairs in a pub. It was a very intimate gig, and it was an absolute pleasure sort of seeing her live, just herself, not with the band, which, like I say, hopefully next time she comes to the UK, she's able to do that. That'd be really cool, because this is an album I just kind of grew to really love, and yeah, just really, I'm not by any stretch someone who generally listens to country influenced music at all, but maybe it's an age thing. I seem to be really moving more towards that genre than ever. Although I think this is more in your kind of indie rock ballpark with what's created on Want. But yeah, just a lot going on here. I just found it so hooky, so memorable, and it just really stuck. You know, sometimes there's not, you can't always pinpoint exactly why it is that's the case, but this is one which just had that memorability for me. And like I say, maybe it's seeing her live which just really embedded it and kept it high up on the list. But yeah, great introduction from Kylie to the Santa Fe resident, your neighbor. And yeah, there's so much on here. The only small point I would say, which I'm echoing from the May pod, is Messenger, one of my favorites off the record, and which is just an acoustic guitar one, wasn't played when she did the solo show, and that's still my one note of
The one that would have worked without
Basically,
without
it's
having to do anything else.
yeah. So maybe with the full band, that's when then with that one we'll get an airing, and I'll get to see it live. But yeah, no, like I say, it just summarizes what is so good about this pod is being brought into artist realms who I've never heard of before, and this was a great selection from Kylie, and yeah, just really loved this album, and like I say, has kind of stayed with me throughout the year. I mean, yeah, Kylie, do you want to add anything on your neighbour's record? This is quite, I think, is it slightly different to her previous stuff? Because the previous stuff is a bit more raw and more country, I would
More
say.
country.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Want is her best record so far. She is a great alt country adjacent artist, but I think she did a great job of bringing in a little more indie, bringing in a little more pop, and putting that sound together without alienating people that might be there for the country part of it. So I think yeah, her best record so far, and just really happy for her. She got a lot of great press on this record, and got to do the UK solo tour and that kind of thing, which is more and more uh is the cost of touring outweighs the benefits. It's great when someone gets to do something like this. So I'm very happy for Esther. She's worked really hard for it, and I think Want is a great payoff.
And Karl, do you have anything to add on top of the praise we're offering?
No, yeah, what you guys are saying, I think this is a really great record. I really enjoyed it when we reviewed it back in May. Just really tender, really well written, and like you say, some great guitar work on there as well, Andrew. And yeah, I think the only reason for me it was kind of further down the ranking is going back to it. It's just one that, when you get so many listen to so many albums throughout the year, there's only some that kind of make it through and stay there, and this was just one, for whatever reason, didn't quite make it through. Maybe I was listening to The Weeknd too much, we don't know. But I mean, it's funny, Andrew, you were kind of talking about like the live factor as well. Like that was a big thing for me. Once you hear some of these albums live, your opinion of them can go up. You start resonating with you a bit more, and it is such a big thing. I think these days is when you listen to an album, you're only hearing half the story. You need to kind of really like experience it, and yeah, I think that I can imagine this was one of those records as well that yeah, if I'd heard it live at that show, I'd be coming back to it a lot more than I was this year. But other than that, fantastic record. I'm glad it made the 20 here.
And that brings us to close with the first part of our end of the year pod. So the albums from 20th down to 11. Next time we will return with our top 10 and the all important album of 2025. You can stay up to date with what we're up to by following 5 to 9 on Instagram and YouTube. Keep up to date with New Music Central via @Karl Blakesley on Instagram and Threads, and Mama Mañana Records via @Mama Mañana Records on Instagram and YouTube. Thanks for listening.